All my life, my parents listened to my sister and ignored me. Every choice, every argument, every blame, it always fell on me. One night, when they accused me of something I didn't even do, I finally decided I'd had enough. Growing up in a two-story house on the edge of a quiet American suburb, you'd think I had the same childhood as everyone else. But behind those white shutters and tidy lawn, there was a truth I learned young. In my family, my sister's voice was louder than mine, even when she whispered. Her name is Hannah, 2 years younger than me, golden hair, bright smile, straight A student, the child who always seemed to glow while I stood in her shadow. When we were kids, if something broke, it was my fault. If a glass shattered in the kitchen, my mom's voice cut through the air. Why weren't you more careful? Even if I was across the street, playing basketball, the blame found me. Hannah would stand behind her, wide-eyed, murmuring, "I think I saw him near the counter earlier." That was all it took. By the time I was 15, it wasn't just glasses or toys. It was curfews, grades, friends. Everything I did was wrong. Everything Hannah did was right. One night, I came home late from a study group. Hannah had already beaten me there. She sat at the kitchen table, flipping through her phone, her backpack tossed on the floor. Dad's voice boomed as soon as I walked in. "Where were you?" Hannah said, "You were out messing around again." I dropped my books on the counter. "That's not true. I was at the library until they closed." But it didn't matter. Hannah leaned back, her voice sweet but sharp. "I told you, Dad. He's always making excuses." Mom sighed, shaking her head. "Why can't you be more like your sister? She never causes problems." The weight of those words pressed down harder than my backpack. Years passed, and the pattern never changed. College applications. My acceptance letters were brushed aside. Hannah's rejections were met with sympathy and excuses. Those schools don't know talent when they see it. When she crashed into Dad's car, I was the one lectured about responsibility. When she flunked chemistry, I was the one grounded for distracting her. Every time, the same thought echoed in my head. Do they even see me? Or am I just the wall they hang their blame on? The breaking point came last winter. It was a Friday night, cold enough that the windows fogged. I was upstairs, headphones on, working on a presentation for my job. Hannah was supposed to walk the dog. Instead, she left the back door open. When my parents came home and found muddy paw prints all over the carpet, Hannah didn't miss a beat. "It was him," she said, pointing upstairs. "I told him to take the dog out, but he ignored me." I didn't even hear the accusation until Dad burst into my room, his face red, his voice shaking with anger. "Do you think this house is a joke?" he roared. "You never take responsibility for anything." I pulled off my headphones, stunned. "What are you talking about? I've been here for hours." But Mom was right behind him, arms crossed. "Hannah said she asked you. She wouldn't lie about this." That was it. The final straw. I stood there, my hands clenched, my voice calm but burning. "You always believe her. No matter what she says, no matter how wrong she is, it's always me. You don't even stop to think. You don't even listen." They stared at me, shocked by the edge in my tone. For once, I didn't back down. "I'm done," I said, my voice steady. "If I can't be seen in this house, then I'll make sure you see me outside of it." And at that moment, the decision settled in my chest like stone. I wasn't going to beg for their approval anymore. I was going to take control. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, the words still echoing in my head. "You don't even listen." For years, I had swallowed my anger. I told myself it was easier to keep the peace, that maybe if I worked harder, achieved more, they'd notice me. But nothing changed, and nothing ever would, unless I made it change. The next morning, I walked into the kitchen. Hannah was sitting at the table, sipping orange juice, already smirking like she'd won some game I hadn't even known we were playing. "Rough night?" she asked sweetly. I ignored her and set my keys on the counter. "I'll be moving out soon." Mom looked up from the sink, startled. "What are you talking about?" I'm done being blamed for things I didn't do, I said, my voice steady. If you don't trust me, then I don't belong here. Dad frowned. Don't be dramatic. But Hannah leaned forward, her grin widening. Wow, guess I'll finally have the house to myself. That smug look told me everything I needed to know. She wanted me to go. And my parents, blinded by her sweetness, would never stop her. I didn't argue. I just picked up my bag and walked out. At first, leaving felt like cutting the last string holding me up. I crashed at a friend's place, then rented a small, run-down apartment across town. The paint peeled, the faucet leaked, and the heater rattled in the night. But it was mine. No accusations, no comparisons, just silence. For the first time I could breathe. But freedom doesn't erase hurt. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw their faces, my father's disappointment, my mother's cold silence, Hannah's smirk. And I realized walking away wasn't enough. If they were going to see me, really see me, I needed to show them the truth. It started with small steps. I threw myself into work, staying late, taking on projects no one else wanted. My boss noticed. Promotions came quickly, one after another. While Hannah was still drifting between part-time jobs and excuses, I was climbing. I stopped going home for birthdays, skipped holidays. My parents left me messages, always the same. You're overreacting. Come back. Be reasonable. But not once did they say the words I needed. We're sorry. We were wrong. Then, one afternoon nearly a year later, I got a call from a neighbor near my old house. Hey, she said, her voice hesitant, I thought you should know. Hannah's been telling everyone you're still causing trouble. She says you got fired, that you're begging for money. I laughed bitterly. Of course. Even when I wasn't there, Hannah found a way to smear my name. But this time I wasn't powerless. I had receipts, pay stubs, awards, emails praising my work. And more than that, I had distance. It hit me then. If they wouldn't believe my words, they would have to believe results. A month later, I bought a car, something sleek and new, paid for in cash. Then I put down the first payment on a condo downtown. It wasn't about showing off. It was about proving, if only to myself, that I didn't need their approval, that I could build something without them. Still, I knew it wouldn't stay secret for long. Word travels fast in a small town. And sure enough, it didn't. One evening, I walked into a coffee shop and froze. There, sitting by the window, was my mother. She looked up, and her eyes widened when she saw me. Dressed sharp, car keys in hand, no trace of the broken child they'd cast aside. She stood, her voice shaky. We didn't know you were doing so well. I met her gaze, calm but cold. You never asked. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments about which country you're watching this video from. Enjoy the story. Her face fell, and for the first time, I saw regret flicker in her eyes. But behind her, I caught sight of Hannah walking in, her smirk already forming as she spotted me. And I realized something. This wasn't over. Because Hannah wasn't about to let her throne slip away without a fight. Hannah didn't waste a second. She slid into the seat next to my mother, eyes locked on me with the same smugness I remembered from every childhood fight. Well, well, she said, her tone dripping with sarcasm. Look who finally decided to crawl out of hiding. I stayed standing, coffee cup in hand. I'm not hiding, Hannah. I've been working. Something you wouldn't understand. Her smile faltered for a split second before she leaned back, crossing her arms. Mom, don't let him fool you. He's just putting on a show. You know he always exaggerates. I almost laughed. Some things never changed Hannah's spinning stories, my parents eating them up. But this time, I wasn't a powerless teenager. I was armed with proof. Really? I asked, pulling my phone from my pocket. I scrolled through emails, pulling up one with my company's letterhead, praising my last project. Exaggerating doesn't usually come with promotions and a bonus. Mom's eyes widened, her lips parting like she wanted to say something but couldn't. Hannah's smile cracked, but she recovered quickly. That doesn't mean anything. You probably begged for it. I shook my head. Still making excuses, huh? Still blaming me for things that don't fit your narrative. The air between us was thick, the coffee shop humming quietly around our storm. For once, I wasn't the one shrinking under the weight of accusation. Hannah was. That night, though, the fight didn't end. My phone buzzed with a dozen messages from relatives. Some congratulated me on my success. Others accused me of bragging, of trying to humiliate Hannah. And I knew exactly where it came from. Hannah had started calling family, twisting the story. She told them I had rubbed my money in their faces, that I looked down on her. It was the same old game, but now she had a bigger audience. At first, I wanted to ignore it, let her drown in her own lies. But then I thought about how long I'd been silent, how many years I'd let her shape the story of who I was. Not this time. I wrote a message to the entire family group chat. Nothing angry, nothing defensive, just facts. I posted a picture of my new condo, the keys in my hand, the certificate of ownership. Then I wrote, I don't need to defend myself. I've worked hard and I'm proud of where I am. Believe what you want. The silence that followed was louder than any argument. The next day, Mom called me. Her voice was shaky, not angry, not scolding, just uncertain. Why didn't you tell us? She asked. I took a deep breath. Because you wouldn't have listened. You never do. You've spent my whole life believing Hannah before me. And look where it's gotten us. She was quiet for a long time before whispering, maybe you're right. It wasn't an apology, but it was the closest I'd ever heard. A week later, I got another call, this time from a coworker. He sounded uneasy. Hey, I don't know if this is true, but someone's been spreading rumors about you here, saying you falsified your resume, that you didn't really earn your position. My chest tightened. There was no doubt who it was. Hannah wasn't satisfied with smearing at me to the family. Now, she was coming after the life I'd built. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments about which country you're watching this video from. Enjoy the story. That night, I sat in my condo staring out at the city lights. I'd worked too hard to let her tear this down. She had stolen my childhood, poisoned my parents against me, and now she was clawing at the one thing she couldn't control, my success. And in that moment, a plan began to form. If Hannah wanted a war, I would give her one. But this time, I wouldn't just defend myself. I would make sure the truth about her came out for everyone to see. The next morning at work, I felt whispers before I heard them. Colleagues avoided my eyes in the hallway. Conversations stopped when I walked into the break room. The rumors Hannah had planted were already spreading like wildfire. I could have ignored it. I kept my head down, hoping it would pass. But I'd played that role my whole life. The quiet scapegoat, the one who took blame so Hannah could shine. I wasn't that person anymore. At lunch, I walked straight into my manager's office. You've heard the rumors, I said, my voice steady. He nodded slowly. We have to take them seriously. I slid a folder across his desk. Inside were my transcripts, certificates, and recommendation letters. Every piece of proof I'd ever earned. Here's the truth, I said. Check every detail. I have nothing to hide. He flipped through the documents, his brow furrowing. This is solid. Where did these accusations come from? I hesitated for only a second. My sister. She's been trying to tear me down for years. I should have stopped her sooner. The manager closed the folder and met my eyes. We'll handle it. Don't worry. For the first time in my life, someone in authority believed me over her. But exposing Hannah to work wasn't enough. She'd made sure our family saw me as the villain for years. Now she was trying to poison the one safe place I had built. If she wanted a war, I would take it to her doorstep. That weekend, my parents invited us both for dinner. It was the first time in months we'd all be under the same roof. I knew Hannah would twist the narrative again, paint herself as the victim. So I prepared. When I walked into the dining room, Hannah was already there, her smile sugary sweet. Look who finally decided to join us, she said. I didn't reply. I just placed a folder on the table, next to the casserole Mom had set out. Dad frowned. What's that? Proof, I said simply. Mom's eyes darted nervously. Proof of what? I opened the folder and pulled out copies of the forged refinance attempt Hannah had tried with the house paperwork. Emails from relatives where she twisted the truth about me. Even screenshots from coworkers who confirmed she'd been the one calling them with lies. I spread them across the table one by one. The evidence felt like dominoes falling, each piece hitting harder than the last. Dad's face grew red. Mom's hand trembled on her glass of water. Hannah's smile faltered, but she recovered quickly, her voice high-pitched. This is fake. He's making this up to make me look bad. I leaned forward, calm but cold. I've been blamed my whole life for things I didn't do. Not anymore. I won't sit here and let you destroy me just because you can't stand that I've built something without you. The silence that followed was suffocating. For once, my parents didn't rush to defend her. They didn't point at me, didn't accuse me. They just sat there, staring at the mountain of proof laid bare before them. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments about which country you're watching this video from. Finally, Dad spoke, his voice low. Hannah, is this true? Her eyes darted left and right, searching for a lifeline. He's twisting it. He's always twisting things. But Mom's voice cut through, sharper than I'd ever heard it. Enough. We've defended you for years, Hannah. Every time we believed you. But we can't ignore this. The room fell into chaos. Hannah shouted, crying, swearing it was all lies. My parents sat in shock, their perfect picture of her crumbling piece by piece. And I sat quietly, watching the empire she had built on favoritism and manipulation burn down around her. For the first time in my life, the blame wasn't on me. It was on her. The dining room was a battlefield. Papers lay scattered across the table like shards of glass, each one a piece of Hannah's lies finally exposed. My parents sat stiff, their forks untouched, the casserole forgotten and growing cold. Hannah was still crying, her sobs sharp and jagged. You're all against me, she choked out. This is a setup. He's just jealous because you love me more. Her words hung in the air, desperate and childish. For once, Mom didn't rush to comfort her. She just stared, pale and silent, the weight of years of favoritism settling like a stone in her chest. Dad leaned back, rubbing his temples. We gave you everything, Hannah. We defended you. But this is too much. Hannah's tears vanished in an instant, replaced by rage. She turned on me, her voice a hiss. You think you've won? You think a few papers make you the good one now. You'll always be nothing, and they'll always see you as nothing. But when I looked at my parents, I saw something I hadn't seen before. Doubt in their eyes. Not at me, at her. The silence stretched until I spoke. My voice wasn't loud, but it was steady. I never wanted to win, Hannah. I just wanted to be treated fairly, to be heard. For once, I needed someone to look at me and believe me instead of you. My father's eyes dropped to the table. My mother's lip trembled. For the first time, I could see the cracks in their blind devotion to her. But Hannah wasn't done. She stood, so suddenly her chair screeched across the floor. I don't need this family, she spat. You're all pathetic. I'll make my own life, and when I do, don't come crawling back. She stormed out, slamming the door so hard the windows rattled. The house went still. For a long time, no one moved. Then my mother whispered, We failed you. I blinked. What? Her eyes filled with tears. All these years, we thought we were protecting her, but we were hurting you. We didn't want to see it. And now her voice broke. Now it's too late. I should have felt relief, vindication, but instead there was only exhaustion. It's not too late, I said quietly, but things will never go back to how they were. They can't. Dad's voice was heavy. What do you want us to do? I looked at them, at the parents who had chosen my sister's voice over mine for so long, and finally said the words I'd carried for years. See me. Respect me. Stop comparing me to her. They nodded, slowly, as if the weight of that truth was crushing but undeniable. The weeks that followed were strange. For once, my phone buzzed with calls from my parents asking about my day, my work, my life. They came to see my condo, complimented how I'd built it all on my own. It wasn't perfect, decades of damage don't vanish overnight, but it was something. As for Hannah, she cut ties completely. She blocked numbers, vanished from family gatherings. And while part of me mourned the sister I thought I'd had, another part finally felt free. Her absence was loud, but her control over my life was gone. One evening, months later, I stood on my balcony, city lights stretching below me. My mother called, her voice soft. I want you to know, I'm proud of you, she said, not just for your success, but for standing up for yourself. You taught us a lesson we should have learned years ago. I closed my eyes, letting the words sink in. They didn't erase the past, but they carved out a future I hadn't thought possible. Thank you, I whispered. Before we end, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments about which country you're watching this video from. Enjoy the story. As I hung up and looked out at the skyline, I realized something important. Sometimes, family isn't about the roles we're born into. It's about the respect we demand, the boundaries we draw, and the courage to walk away when we're ignored. For years, I was the scapegoat, the forgotten child, the one always blamed. But not anymore. Now they finally saw me, and I'd never let myself disappear again.